All right. Last time, I think we did an intro on Sitecore 9. When we did that, after that, I decided, like, well, has anyone played with Sitecore 9 yet? Has anyone here played with Sitecore 9 at all? Okay, so no one has even tried to install Sitecore 9 yet. But if you do get into, has anyone tried to install the previous versions of Sitecore? Just manually and those kind of things without using. Okay, so it's pretty simple, either through the exe or if you do it by hand through a zip file. And that's pretty easy. You just unzip it and then you create the website. You put the DBs in there and then you do the connection strings and then it's working, right? Assuming you have the license file. So in Sitecore 9, it's a little bit different. Although they still give you the zip file, the archive, and all the databases. They're called DAC packs now. But it made it more complicated for just to create a development environment. So some of this talk is not necessarily for marketers. However, you may want to talk to your developers to hopefully give you a lab. So that's what we're doing today. Like with Brett, for him to be able to do the first look of the automation, he needed a lab, so we needed to obviously install this. So you guys may want to take a look at that with all the new things that's happening on Sitecore 9. You don't necessarily want to install Sitecore 9 production yet, but you'd probably want to see what it does and what you guys, if you even want to go up there yet, based on your requirements. So take a look at that. Maybe have a virtual host or something like that to where they can put the Sitecore 9, and hopefully this will help those. Once you do get into installing, I'm over there. Thank you. Installing Sitecore 9, it's going to expose a lot of things. All of this currently actually exists now on Sitecore 8, even on 7. What you see here is really the full gamut of what's inside Sitecore. So the different servers, we would say. So you have your content delivery server, right? You have your CM, basically 2 Sitecore instances. You have, these are new, but some of this, like the automation, the processing, and the reporting processing, those currently exist right now with the XDB, right? So however, in Sitecore 9, there's this new thing called XConnect, and that sits between the XDB and anything that wants to call it like Sitecore. So if you want to have like an external application that needs to talk to any experience data, like all the interactions, browser information, marketing, anything that's being tracked for your website, they have to go through XConnect now instead of talking to XDB directly. Okay, so developers need to start thinking that way because it's not exposed the same way anymore. Okay, all right. So one of the bigger problems in installing Sitecore 9 is this new is the requirement that everything needs to be secured. What that means to developers is that does that mean I need to get a certificate from a known certificate, VeriSign or whoever, right? So obviously that's not going to work for a developer. So what I'm going to show you is how to create your local cert. I'm sure, have anyone created local certs before? Okay, good. So this would be very familiar to you guys, but once it comes to Sitecore, you need to kind of know where to apply those and how many certificates are needed. For a development box, there's really just 2 certificates. They can all be local. In a production environment, there's at least 10. Yes. Now, that's if we want to separate all of this. We don't have to, but by default, on what Sitecore provides in terms of their deployment options, there's 3 right now. You have your XP0, which is basically what we're going to do today. XP1, which is basically separating each of this. And it's 10 is because each of this is basically a website on your IIS, and each one requires basically a certificate. So that's one of the biggest gotchas in terms of if you are going to move to Sitecore 9. It's going to be a little bit different. You could still put all these things together if you want to just have a CM, but then that's not coming out of the box in terms of the deployment options for you automatically. But you can still do that. So, okay. So So we have the content delivery, I talked about that. The X Connect, as I said earlier, is composed of the collection service. That's the one that collects all the data from ExperienceDB, whoever. If someone visits your site, it collects that data and puts it into the collection DBs. The search service and the search indexer, and then the XDB, which is what's familiar for you guys right now. This didn't used to be there. Used to be that the content manager used to talk to this directly. Okay, so now we have this. Okay, and you can find out a lot more about this on the doc.sitecore.net/developers. This is where the Sitecore 9 stuff are. You won't find a lot of the developer stuff on just the regular doc Sitecore. You'll see that there's a little note in there that you need to go to the developer site to see more detailed info. Okay? All right. So, go. Thanks. All right. So, for our purposes, we're going to just do a developer environment. So, there's going to be the Sitecore piece, which is where your site's going to be on, obviously. There's the XConnect piece, which is another IIS website. And there's Solar. Has everyone played with Solar before? So Lucene, yes, right? That's what we use right now. This Lucene is what's out of the box. In Sitecore 9, I think we talked about it last time that you have your Lucene and Solar. You can use Lucene obviously on your box for development, but once you go in production, they recommend doing Solar. Or, well, really, you can only use Solar. And the main reason for Solar is that it makes it so that the indexes, the search indexes, are available to everyone. If you guys are using Lucene right now to use for your search indexes, even for your website, sometimes you get a sync issue to where your indexes does not get updated on the outside, and then you can't find it, and then you have to rebuild and all those kind of things, right? So that's normal Sitecore life, so that's part of our maintenance mode. But in using Solar, since it's a server, you can talk to it, and it can get the indexing and those kind of gets triggered from your Sitecore piece. So, but all other pieces gets to talk to it instead of having different file-based indexes. Okay, so it's more robust. Plus, the searching part, if you do want to use search, it uses kind of like special things that Lucene doesn't have, like highlighting words and those kind of things. That like a Google search would allow you to have, basically. Okay, so Solar is pretty powerful. So what we're going to do is install this, and this. So it looks like a lot, and just imagine what production would look like. Basically, in production, all of this and this gets separated. So what Sitecore provided, you can go to the next one. What Sitecore provided is basically the different packages that you see online right now. If you log in on your dev.sitecore.net, you can download those. Okay. So hopefully we can answer some of this question. We already answered how many security certificates, how to create the local security certificate, how many websites, how many DBs, how many Solar instances, where to get Solar. Right now, Sitecore said 661 in Solar was what it was built on, but if you go look for Solar right now, you won't find 661. 662 is out there, so use 662. There is 7.1 now, or 7.01 also. I haven't tried that one, but if you want to try it, it probably will work. Okay. So what we're going to do is actually go through and get. I have Solar right now on my machine, so let's see what's next on this. All right. So this is a lot more. All right. Has anyone read at all the installation guide for Sitecore 9, even though you didn't try to install it? No? All right. So Sitecore 9, as I said, is not just unzipping the zip file anymore. It's a lot more things that you have to prep your server for. First of all, you need to have the DAC framework and SQL DOM. Now, you can download that. DAC framework is so that you can install the DAC packs, which is what's being used on the PowerShell scripts. Okay. Yes, Java. We're back to Java. We need the Java. That's for the Solar for the certificates. So we can create the certificates using key tool. And then we have the web platform installer, which you guys probably have used already. And its installation guide tells you what to download. The installation framework, which is a PowerShell thing, it's on the installation guide also, so you can just follow that. And then there's this thing called contained database authentication, Do you guys know what that is? Right now in your SQL database, when you guys create a user, you put it under the security logins, right? And then you give permissions to the databases, correct? This one allows you to have your users within the database itself, instead of doing it on the generic SQL server, like outside. Okay, so it's inside the database itself, the logins. Okay? And the reason for that is because of what Sitecore is using on the PowerShell script. And then have a copy of your license file. Okay? All right. So assuming you've done all of that, then we can now do the actual install. So we'll do the Solar first, and then we'll make Solar secured, which is necessary. Currently, you don't have to do that on previous version of Sitecore. And then we'll do this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but we're going to do that in one PowerShell script. And while it's going through that, we'll talk about what's inside in each one. Okay? So that, because that's really where the issues are that I've seen people have encountered, is how does this all work. So, okay, so I think after that is the actual demo. All right, any questions so far? All right. Let's see if I can steal the screen here. Yeah, I'd like to be there. All right, so first thing first is install Solar. All right, Solar out of the box. It's just, I don't know if you guys can see this very well. I just have a zip file. Download that. Okay, so I'm just going to unzip that. And I have a meetup folder. All right, so what it's doing right now is just unzipping that, okay? All right, while that's going, have anyone used, does anybody know NSSM? It kind of allows you to put Windows service through the command line, developers. Okay, so you can download that. It's this one here.
What's that say? It's
NSSM.
NSSM.
Yeah, so basically allows you to create, well, we'll demo that. So I'm going to go in there right now. If I can. And you can call it, let's see. So what I'm typing right now is NSSM install. And then I'm just, remember we're installing Solar. So Solar meetup 8985. All right, so that's the name of the service that's going to be installed on Windows. Okay, so when that comes up, it asks what are you trying to run on your Windows service. So we are trying to run Solar. So I go, and my dog is talking to me. All right, so what I have right now is a path to the Solar that command. So, okay, come on up. Sorry. All right. Solar that command is the command that starts Solar basically. It's different on Linux and those kind of things. It's in here, the SH one, but for Windows, it's that one, okay? And it should be on, you get all the instructions in Solar also. And then startup directory is the bin folder. And then you say start, which starts the application. -F makes the Solar app in foreground, which Sitecore needs. -P is the port that it's going to listen on, okay? So by default, it's 8983, but you can come up with whatever. So I'll call it 8985, okay? And if you can kind of see, this here is the name that I gave it earlier here. the Solar 8985. So, and then I'll give it some details. So I'll just say Solar meetup port 8985. I'll copy that. And install the service. So all it does is says install the service. It hasn't started it yet, but if I go to the services, Windows Services, and refresh this, you'll probably see now this one thing called Solar Meetup Port 8985. You guys see that now? Okay, so it's not started. And if I go to my local host, 8985, it won't come up with anything. I haven't started it yet, so. Okay? So if I start that, if everything works, give me a couple of minutes, just a minute. Come on. Come on. One more. Come on. Come on now. There we go. All right, it just took Solar, take a while to come up. So we now have Solar, great. However, so if you run Sitecore installation right now, it's not gonna work because Sitecore requires to connect to Solar in secured mode. So it needs to be HTTPS. So this is the first place you need to have a certificate on. And this is just internal anyway, so you could do a local, but I still prefer it if you actually have one from Covadis or VeriSign or whatever, obviously. So, okay. So the next thing is we're going to make this secured. Okay. So to do that, we need to run. You could do this by hand, but I do have a PowerShell script. This is by Cam Figgy. He's a platform architect from Sitecore that just came up with it. It's just a PowerShell script. It's just using keytool.exe that comes from the Java development kit. So you just so the main. I don't know if I can make this bigger, but the main command is if I can find it. Is this piece down here. What it says is a key tool and a bunch of stuff. But you can find this if you look for Cam Figgy. He wrote a blog, because this is one of the pieces where people are having an issue on how to create the certificate for Solar. Even if you go to Solar's website on Apache, you may not actually be able to do it because it's a little confusing. But this one allows you to do that pretty quickly. So I'm going to run that. So that /solar-local cert. And I have a parameter in there that I created. For those who knows PowerShell, you can definitely modify this. It's called key store file path. Key store file path. And that's basically where the certificates are going to go. So I'm going to put it where it's needed is on Solar in the etc. and server etc. Folder. All right. Hopefully that works. I need the PS1 in there. So the intent is that we should see, once I run that, oh, okay, now I have to find where the key tool is. And I have that in my Java. Okay. Key tool. Oops. All right, so all I did is point it to where the key tool is. So it's generating the certificates now. Once it's done, we should see two new files on that folder, the P12 and the cert. So see those two? Okay, so now we're in place. Now we just need to make sure that Solar can read that. Okay, so to do that, we go back into solar. And it has a config called solar in command, and Sitecore has that in the, and get rid of some those. I believe that's it. Let me make sure. Okay. All right, so what I did is I removed the comments out to tell now we're going to make Solar secured. Okay, so it's pointing to what the JKS is the cert file. It's pointing to that and what the password that we created for that one. That password is in the PowerShell script that we just ran earlier, and that you guys will see if you download Camfiggy stuff. Okay, all right. So next thing I do is actually restart the machine here, the service, and now if I go back to here, I should not see this one anymore. So I just refresh it. Remember, I'm still in HTTP. So now if I switch that to HTTPS, as you can see, it's not allowing me to see it now. Assuming it's back up. And now it says, I don't know if you guys can see it, it now says secure. All right, so we're cool. We're good now. So that part takes a while, but you need to do that. Otherwise, anything that Sitecore provided is not going to work at all. So, all right, so now we're in secured mode, and you guys can do this even without using Sitecore 9. If you just want to use Solar anyway, you might as well secure it. So, okay, and that's all using local cert. So, okay, so the next piece is actually installing Xconnect, that middle part between XDB and Sitecore. So Sitecore, lucky for us, it provided those scripts as well. So that will be, let's see if I can get to it. Get back to install here. So on my install folder, I have what's called, let's see. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember on my overview steps, I have install Solar, make Solar secured, and then the rest was in one PowerShell script, right? You guys remember that? So we're going to do that now in one PowerShell script. So I'm going to run that one PowerShell script, and while it's running, it's going to install Xconnect, Solar cores, which are the indexes, basically, and then Sitecore as well. And we'll go through it while it's installing, because it'll take about 10 minutes. That's how, I know it's not, 10 minutes, not very long, but in terms of Sitecore previous version world, that sounds a lot of things going on, and there is a lot going on in there. So, so we're going to run that. And for me, I've created this script called dev install PowerScript. So I created here different parameters. I'll switch this to meetup. Some prefix. Let's see. Let me just update this. We'll go through this pretty quickly once I have it done. So, let's see. And what this all means. 8985. All right, I think I got that set up. So .dev install.ps1. All right, so once I run that, you're going to see a lot of things that is not going to mean a lot. So, all right. All right, so we're going to let that run and actually go through the script. So, are we bored yet, marketer? This is the reason why I wanted to show how to install Sitecore 9, because it's a lot more than what it was. So, all right, so first things first. Do you know, is there a way to zoom, like,
Just on your resolution, I think the only other.
well, remember
way to do it.
I'm on, let me see, actually, I should just be able to change font on, can I change font on? Okay.
Control plus.
All right, that's a little bit better. All right, so while that's running in the background, this is, we've created a script for our own purposes, for our own development ones, okay? So you guys can, I can share this eventually if you guys want it, then just let me know. But we have a prefix, everybody know prefix to identify your website, your SQL databases, your indexes, and those kind of, just to give it a name. For developers, that's very important because we sometimes work with 2 or 3 websites, especially for our developers as an agency. We have a lot of that in one box. So that's very important. So solution root is where my install is. That's where I want to put my websites, okay? My XConnect website and my Sitecore website. Okay, remember we're just having 2. If you're doing the XP1, which is the whole gamut of it, then you'll see 9 of them if you install them in one box. Okay, I have my script root. That's where this is the script root. In it are the configuration that Sitecore has provided for you. You can update those on those in the actual PowerShell script. You can update like the name, the prefix, and those kind of things. You can do that on by hand. But that's why I created our own overarching PowerShell scripts so that I can just provide the parameters to those so that I don't have to modify Sitecore stuff. Okay? All right. So that's where those are. And then I have the XConnect. This is the website name. So it will be called sc9meetup.research.roundedcube.com. And then the XConnect website is going to be called sc9meetup.xconnectresearch.roundedcube.com. And then here's our Solar URL that we just have earlier, that we just installed, 8985. Here's where the Solar root is. I put it under Meetup. Okay. The reason for that, it needs to modify a little bit there. And then we have, I'm going to have an issue because I didn't replace this one, which is the Solar service. So I'll probably get an error here. Because I called it Solar Meetup, right? So I'm going to modify that right now while it's running. Just want to make sure I got the name right. So Solar Meetup 8985. Okay. Let's see. Well, I'll let it run. But we should get the error, but we'll see. Well, we may not get the error because I do have that 8984 also. So it might just put the indexes on that server. Okay. So anyway, but just make sure you update that. Your SQL server, your SQL admin user to create the databases, your SQL DB user, that's the one that will be created inside each database. Okay, and this one is actually the one that's going to get used in your connection string. Okay, this 2 here. So once you have all that set up, okay, the next thing is to now actually call the Sitecore PowerShell scripts. The PowerShell script, we didn't create any of this. The XConnect creates cert. It creates, this is the second certificate. This is the certificate on XConnect itself. This is the client certificate. I'm not going to get into that too deeply right now, but basically any calls that goes into XConnect needs to use a certificate to talk to it. This is not the call to Solar, just so you guys know. This is another certificate. So this is 2 so far, okay? All right. So it creates the client certificate. It uses that, what's called a thumbprint. So if you go into the connection strings of Sitecore 9, you'll see some new things. On a previous one. You can kind of see this. See this thumbprint? So that's the thumbprint coming from that certificate. Okay, so the PowerShell script does that all for you. So if you do this manually, you can see all the things that you have to do. Okay. All right. So where is my script again? All right. So that's the first step. It did. I think it's done. Is the first thing is create the certificate for XConnect. Second thing is it creates the cores. Cores are the DBs. Are the indexes. So if you look at this, oh, okay, so it did create it. So we have the SC9 meetup. There's 2 of them so far. These are the cores that got just created by that script. This is where the indexes are. And Lucene has those indexes. Basically, these are Lucene indexes too. Solar is created on top of Lucene. So, okay. So that's that part of the XDB. The next thing is to deploy the actual XConnect website. Okay, to see that, let's see if that's done yet. Let me refresh this. All right, so you see this one? That wasn't there before. Now it's called SC9 meetup.xconnect.research.roundedcube.com. So that just got created also. So I don't see the actual website yet that we care about, which is the Sitecore website. So that's still being created in the background. Oops. So it's still going, as you guys can see. So it's taking a while, but you guys can see what all the things that the script is doing. Okay. So I'm gonna let that go through. But do you guys have any questions, especially the developers? It's a lot more, as you guys can see. So, so I want you guys to actually play with Sitecore 9 because it's different. Have you guys also played with the publishing service yet? That's the .NET Core piece that Sitecore has. So have you guys played with .NET Core? Core, good. So Sitecore is not built on .NET Core yet, but the publishing service is. So if you guys, marketers, if you guys are having issues with publishing, like it's taking too long and those kind of things, tell your developers to install the advanced publishing service. It's so much faster, it's easier, there's no more smart incremental publish, it's none of that. It's on a different server or a different site, it gets offloaded on that one, so it's not within the same CM or anything like that. So it's so much faster, but it does run on a .NET Core. So it's kind of the first thing that Sitecore did in terms of .NET Core. They will eventually start moving that over into .NET Core eventually, but marketers, if you guys do want faster one, try to install that one. It really is a lot better. Okay, it's still not there, so I'm hoping it's going to be soon. Let's see, what else do I have? Almost done, Brett.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. Here, let me see if I could show. Well, let's just say that once everything is done, okay, I did create one called a lab. You guys can see there's 2 websites here called SC9 Lab 1, SC9 Lab 1. One is the Roundedcube one, and one's the XConnect one. Okay, so this is the 2. Right now, on what's happening right now, we just did the XConnect. So after that, it's going to create the actual website where Sitecore is. So just if we are, let's just say that is done, and I'm just going to use the old website, which is really what Brett is going to use for his demo. C9 Lab 1. It should look typically like your typical Sitecore website. All of that. It still looks like Sitecore 9, except it says 2017. So, all right. But if I log in there, oops. And it's still the typical admin B. You can change that in the scripts if you want to change the password, obviously. you definitely want to do that, or you can do it post install. Now there are post installation steps that you have to do, which you do now anyway, like deploy the marketing definitions and those kind of things. So you still have to do that. So that's all in the instructions. So it looks the same thing. You have forms. These are the new Sitecore 9 now. I know because of Sitecore forms. So it looks like that. One more thing that also changed is, if you guys can see, I didn't add these. This gets automatically, this is my host file. So developers, this gets automatically created for you. So, okay, so it's in there too. So that's cool. But as you can see, it created that. So you should be able to access that. Refresh, let me see if it's, so now we have our website, SC9 Meetup, right there. It's still not done because of, it's still paused, it's still stopped. So it's still going through it, but as you can see, it's creating all the assets. For the XP1 version deployment option, there's like this long just for one. So with the processing server and those kind of things. So this also updates your connection strings. So if I look at, you just trust me on that. You can just see the thumbprint was updated. All of that gets updated. So this is why I have to show you guys what Sitecore 9 installation looks like. Okay? That makes sense? So ask me questions post meetup. When you do want to play with Sitecore 9, let me know. I'll be happy to help you. Okay? I think that's it. I know, it's a lot. Thank you.